Thank you very much, and thank you, Carl, for inviting me to be here to speak. This is my first conference. I've learned a lot being here. It's a great opportunity for all to come together and share their experiences around pipelines, which hopefully help to improve all of our experiences. As she said, I'm David Barnett. I represent the pipeline welders, pipe fitters, and helpers throughout the United States for the United Association. I chose this slide. This Trans-Alaska Pipeline is where I got my start. That was my first project I worked on as a young man with my father. And this pipeline, for one thing, it's the most photographed pipeline in history. We all know that. Everyone recognizes the pipeline, and when someone's looking for a pipeline picture, they pick this one. Probably because it's the only one that's above ground for 70% of it. It was laid above ground because of the tundra and permafrost. All other pipelines, for the most part, are buried, and so you don't have that opportunity. The other reason I chose this slide is this was a very controversial pipeline at the time. In 1974, the nation was having a hard time figuring out if they were going to build this pipeline or not. It actually came down to a vote in the Senate, and that vote came out 49-49. And the vice president at the time, Spiro Agnew, cast the deciding vote to build that pipeline. And so I say that because my next slide points to the next controversial pipeline that everyone has been talking about for the last 3 years. And I think it's good. What came out of the Alaska Pipeline Project was a lot of research, studying that went into pipelines, welding, metals, that may not have occurred for years to come had that project not been there. There was a number of industry investors in that pipeline that really went above and beyond, and that pipeline in Alaska has successfully transported over 16 billion barrels of oil to date. And so the right kind of design factor went into that pipeline. I think it's proven that. The Keystone XL pipeline, I think the best thing about that, we don't know what the outcome is going to be of this proposal, but one thing it has done, it has alerted the nation on pipelines. It started a lot of dialogue, and I think that's a great thing because when things go unnoticed, they also kind of run under the radar. And so here's a map of our nation's natural gas pipeline system, both intrastate and interstate. And I don't know where the clicker went, but the reason I have this up here, for years and years, the natural gas was provided in the southern states, Alabama, Louisiana, Texas, Oklahoma. That's where the large gas discoveries were. And, thank you, down in this region. And of course, the markets were up in the Northeast. And so for years and years, the pipelines we built were pretty much in that corridor. And then in the late 90s, a lot of natural gas was discovered up in this area and prompted one of the largest pipelines we've ever constructed across the United States, which was the Rex East project, the Rex and the Rex East, which came from Wyoming all the way back to the East Coast. And then just almost 2 years after it was built and those markets were in place, guess what? Lots of shale gas discovered here. So the pipeline industry themselves are going through a big change right now, figuring out where's the gas, where's the market, and what do we need to do. And I think we're seeing more changeovers in pipelines from their original intent than what they were originally designed for. Every job that we do across the United States comes across my desk. I award it to our local unions that have the jurisdiction. And this year I've seen a lot of activity out of these pipeline companies on upgrading their systems. And the Trans-Canada has nothing to do with the Keystone. It has to do with the natural gas system that they also operate. A lot of integrity work we've gotten this year going in. So I think, for the right reasons, a lot of these companies are seeing what has happened in other areas, and they're going in and they're doing a lot of integrity thanks to PHMSA, thanks to Pipeline Safety Trust and other groups that have been out there pressing for this. We're all about safety in our systems. This is a slide that shows the natural gas system from the producing wells and through the various points that it goes through, getting to the end consumer. And this is not up-to-date numbers, but the industry serves about 1,700 power plants across the United States, about 66 million homes, and that's growing every day. Natural gas has become a choice for for heating and for very many other purposes as it burns and is the cleaner choice. This is my home local union, Pipeliners Union. It's the only local union in the United Association that is strictly awarded pipeline jurisdiction. We cover 42 states and work in all 50 states across the United States, performing the pipeline work that our contractors are successful bidders on. And this is our newest training facility. It's over a $6 million training facility. It's been open about 4 years. It has 52 welding stalls. These are, if you don't not aware, these are welding rigs that we use out on the construction sites. And we also have a big bay there. We perform a lot of procedure welds for different pipeline companies when they want to come in and test the pipe and test the weld procedure that they're going to choose to use on their projects, as well as Lincoln Electric and Miller, who come out with a lot of different welding processes. They bring them to our training center there in Tulsa and test those processes, because we always have a good supply of welders there that are training, coming in, brushing up before they go out. If anyone didn't know or wasn't aware, welders are trained or are tested on every project they go on. When they get to that project, they have to complete a weld test according to the procedure that has been accepted by that criteria for that project, and they have to pass the full X-ray and the pull test of the straps before they're employed and able to go to work. And so, as you can see, they put a lot into their training so that when they drive 1,000 miles to their job sites, they feel like they're prepared to do their work. And training is what we're all about. The United Association spends over $270 million a year training different aspects of who we represent in pipe fitters and pipeline welders. This particular training program spends about $4 million a year training in that one facility alone. Here's another shot of some of the training that goes on. This is one unique thing about the training facility in Tulsa. We train on large diameter pipe, which a lot of training facilities aren't able to do. We train 24-inch, 30-inch pipe because that's basically a lot of what we weld on. And, of course, there's the 12-on-12 T-test that's given on a lot of projects. The Blue-Green Alliance, we are a part of that organization. It is a coalition of 10 of the largest labor unions and 4 of the largest, most influential environmental groups across the United States. We came together to use the power of our groups and boots on the ground, if you will, to bring about things that we agree on and we believe in. And one of the things that we believe in is the use of natural gas and quality pipelines for the transport of that natural gas. Now, in this group, we have a committee that I've been assigned to, which is pipelines within the United States, to look at what we can do with natural gas pipelines. The environmental groups naturally are concerned about the leakage of the methane, which is 20 times more potent to our atmosphere than CO2. We're interested in the jobs, and then everyone in that is interested in the safety of the public and the industry. Cast iron pipe, these are just 4 notices that's been given out by the National Transportation Safety Board and PHMSA over the last 40 years on the risk of cast iron pipe. And so we know it's a risk, and we've had some discussion here whether we need regulation or not. And I would say that the regulation is needed in areas because there's just simply, although we have a lot of companies that are willing to step up and do the right thing, we have a lot of companies that won't do the right thing until they're made to do the right thing when it comes to the bottom dollar. This is an example of cast iron pipe. I don't want to pick on anyone here. This just happened to be an example I could get the information on. Since 1994, Houston, Texas has been cast iron free. They took those previous notices that had been given on cast iron pipe. They took them serious. These are 2 private independent suppliers of natural gas distribution to these communities. And you can see the different ways that these 2 different companies have posed to address this. Houston, Texas, as I said, is cast iron free, where Dallas and Fort Worth area still have just under 3% of their total system being cast iron pipe. So it's been identified as one of the main culprits. And so we believe that we're going to push for the replacement of that, as well as bare steel and any plastics that are not holding up to what their original purpose was. As I said, the Blue-Green Alliance, in that committee, we have started what we call the RECAP program, Rebuilding Our City's Aging Pipelines. And what we're going to do is, it's no different message really than I've heard other groups say, the Pipeline Trust, Mayor's Coalition, which is a great project that's getting underway, we want to be a part of. But it's not a different message, but I think the key here is you get messages from different areas saying the same thing, and sooner or later it's going to be recognized by the industry as being the truth. And so we've joined together. We're going to start this program. We're going to go to cities across the United States that we identify. We're going to use our labor boots on the ground to show up at these meetings and educate the public on what they're living around with these natural gas systems and these distribution systems. The environmental groups are going to use their boots on the ground, and they're going to show up with us, and it's going to be a cause that we can go together on to make sure that the systems that our public lives around and depends upon is the safest system that we can possibly provide for them. And so I've just hit on a few things here as the union, what we do to try to promote safety of pipelines. It's our industry. I've been in this industry all my life. I don't want to see the industry go away. Pipelines are needed, but safe pipelines are needed, not the pipelines that are used far past their useful life. I drive a vehicle. I wouldn't expect that vehicle to last me a lifetime. You drive a vehicle, and we replace those vehicles periodically, and pipelines are the same way. They're a vehicle to transport our products, and they can't go unnoticed, and they have to be upgraded and taken care of. So with that, I'm going to leave it with you, and I appreciate the ability to be here once again. Thanks.